G'day guys, welcome back to True Eagle for a quick review of the Melbourne loss. 54 points in the end, 112 to 58. I don't really know what to say about this game. It more or less played out exactly how we were thinking, I think. 10-goal loss. Got jumped massively in the first quarter. That looked scary for a little bit. Melbourne killing us on transition. Starts to games, man, they're really bad. And I think Simo said it's happened 3 weeks in a row. Well, I feel like it's been happening to this team for a long time. The first quarters have been horrendous. And this was no exception. We were 6 goals down at quarter time and the game was already over. What do we get to? I think the only quarter we didn't lose was the third. I think we drew the third quarter. We narrowly missed out on winning the half, I think, with Melbourne's final goal. So that's something, I suppose. But yeah, bit of a nothing game, all things considered, really. I mean, bad start, salvaged a little bit. Overall, I thought Melbourne, they played all right. They played pretty well. They're not the same terrible Melbourne we saw for 4 to 6 weeks there for sure. But they're also not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. And in terms of, I suppose, comparing it to the Hawthorn loss last week, I do think the effort level was slightly better. But I felt like the transition piece, we got absolutely slapped in, and that's just happened every week. So I don't know what use there is of me just repeating all of that. I have got some points to talk about in this game, no doubt. But yeah, it seems like we just continue to be a very one-dimensional team, and I didn't expect that to change this week. That's why I'm not going to rant about it too much. Nonetheless, it was neither a really disappointing loss, nor was it anything really to get excited about. But let's talk about what we did see. So, interestingly, there were some good stats from this game in the sense that we won clearances 35 to 30 somehow. I think we also had more hitouts, which is crazy considering it was Max Gawn versus Bailey Williams and Jack Darling. But we won the clearance count. That's something, I suppose. And that led to more inside 50s. So we had 49 inside 50s each, both teams equaled, and yet we lost by 10 goals. So that obviously speaks to some issues around efficiency for a start. I don't think we were amazing in front of goal without being horrendous, but we definitely left some goals on the table. And our ability to keep the ball inside 50 and force deep entries was certainly lacking in this game. Whereas by contrast, Melbourne, I think they scored 5 of their first 10 goals from the defensive half, which again is something that has been common for games against West Coast this year, and therefore it was pretty hard to defend when they were pretty much outnumbering us from end to end constantly and overlapping us. So once again, it was all kind of the same stuff. But yeah, I suppose to summarize that point, we won more clearances, which is a positive, and that led to more inside 50s. It is quite clear to us that when we don't win the clearance, we're getting significantly less inside 50s. So to get 49, that's well above our average, and I think is above AFL average as well. Cover off some positives. I mean, I suppose Bailey Williams had a good game in taps. I didn't really think he featured or factored at all elsewhere. In fact, I remember a few mistakes, but nonetheless, he got a few taps from the centre. Oscar Allen took some strides today. I think he had 7 shots at goal, kicking 4 goals, 3. And had a couple of shanks. One was one he probably should have kicked. Another one was just a bad shot from a distance. But nonetheless, his aerial game and his contested marking and pack marking was back in this game. So that is actually a genuine positive that we're seeing him return a little bit to his best form. He has spent a lot of time outside of this team. So that was a step. Jack Hutchinson also played his best game at the level. In fact, he only had 8 disposals, but he laid 10 tackles, which was more than any other player in the field. So that is a positive for young Jack, and probably has done enough to keep his spot in the team. When you consider we're a really poor tackling side as well, that's something to consider. As for individuals, McGovern was great. Other than Hutchinson, who I just touched on there, I can't really think of anyone who stood out. I think Duggan tried really hard and still made some mistakes. That's kind of a Duggan-like performance at the moment. Oscar Allen did also mention. Other than that, I wasn't super impressed by any individual as such. We did get 15 marks inside 50, which, I think we went 3 quarters without taking one or something last week. So that is an improvement. I think Waterman and Allen as a combo works well in this game. Waterman had 2 goals, 1, and worked hard to push up the ground. And I think Darling kicked a goal. So across those 3, that mix at least worked a little bit better. So that's just a brief summary of the positives. There was a lot of bad stuff about this game as well. So I want to start with the selection choice of Jack Williams as sub. What other team picks a key position player willingly as their sub? I think we did it. We've done it previously when we've had to, but this doesn't happen, does it? And I think that is only, the stupidity of that is only compounded further when you'd think he would get subbed on for another tall. No, it was a tactical decision to sub out Tyler Brockman for Jack Williams. So, I don't know. I think that's worthy of criticism. Jack did take a good mark when he came on, but this Land of the Giants stuff, it's getting old. And this by far is the most baffling sub decision we've made all year. I mean, Marek is one thing. Okay, so they're trying Marek as a wingman, halfback from now on, whatever. But Jack Williams as a forward ruck to sub on for a small forward, questionable at best. I still think that Yo and Harley look really tired. And Harley in particular was very fumbly. So I suppose it's a negative without really heaping too much criticism on them. I don't even think Harley was bad. I just think that he looks a bit short of a gallop at the moment and double touching a lot, which is unusual for Harley, but it's just a little bit out of form, nothing big. I thought Witherden and Rotherham really frustrated me today. Witherden with his giving away multiple free kicks and also giving away a 50-metre penalty for arguing with the umpire. Like, where's the discipline in that, mate? I feel like you're hanging onto your spot by a thread, mate. Like, don't give away 50-metre penalties just because you feel like arguing. That really pissed me off, and I thought he was just poor generally. Rotherham as well, I think, had a real nothing game. I think he was on Fritsch. Fritsch had a pretty good impact, no doubt. But, there's one play in particular where Rotherham kind of squibbed out of a spoil. And, yeah, again, that's just really disappointing to see. And two players that I'd probably be getting out of this team. And I do want to talk about changes. I got some ideas. I think we got to swing the axe this week. I thought Tim Kelly worked his way into the game, but he kind of played half a game. Again, coming off a month off, is that to be expected? Somewhat. But I'm kind of sick of our midfield getting battered. I mean, the clearances we played well in. I don't know how we won the clearances, to be honest, because I don't feel like any of our midfielders did much. But I suppose that was kind of true for them as well. They are missing Petrarca, and Brayshaw was on their list at the start of the year, and Clayton Oliver has kind of dropped away. But yeah, so that's kind of a neutral point. Tim Kelly, I thought he was good when he was good, and otherwise he was a bit irrelevant. But I suppose broadly speaking, look at some stats. We had 76 less disposals. That's becoming pretty common. That's not great. Minus 25 in contested ball is also a pretty big one-sided win for the D's in that stat, and I don't think they were particularly highly ranked for that stat, nor are we. I think we're bottom 3, and they might be bottom 4. Uncontested ball as well, minus 51. Again, just week in, week out, same old stuff. We also got out-tackled, which is really disappointing. Even when Hutchinson comes in and tackles 10 times, we still got out-tackled with 76 less disposals and less tackles. So again, continuing that trend, and conceded 131 marks, which just shows how much uncontested ball they were getting around the ground. But again, we know all this. So I usually save my changes for the preview, and I might change them by the time that week rolls around, especially when we get our injury update. First of all, on the injury front, looks like McGovern has gone to hospital again for a rib/lung injury. Every time this has popped up, I think this is not the first time. Well, it's definitely not the first time. It could even be the third time. I'm not sure. But previously, when this happened, he was all right to play. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, he got a hip and shoulder and lung/rib injury apparently. But I'm going to highlight some changes that I would make at this current point in time. Chesser, probably time to go back to the waffle. I don't even know how much to blame him. I don't actually think he's doing poorly with the ball in hand without being spectacular either. I just think he's getting lost. And I don't think it's good for his development to just have continual 5-possession games week in, week out. I don't think he's getting much out of that. Get him to the waffle where he can get his hands on the footy, build confidence, come back. Ryan Marrick played on the wing in the weekend. The waffle was one of their best players and can float a little bit behind in defence as well. So I would bring Marrick in for Chesser. Marrick should never have been out of this team. Johnston for Jones is the other change I would make. I think Jermaine Jones is in the side for the dash he brings. And, he wasn't terrible, but I don't think... the guy's out of contract, probably not getting another contract. Why are we leaving him in the team? Harvey Johnston travel with the Eagles this week implies that he's close to a game. And I reckon it comes in for Jermaine Jones. That's the second change I would make. If Matthew Flynn is fit and available, I would bring him in for Bailey or don't. I don't care. Just to play one of them. Neither of them are particularly spectacular at the moment. And I would probably just start whichever one, but don't play both. I would bring Jack Williams into the 22 and I would drop Darling. I said that before this week. And Darling played well. But again, we need to be pragmatic about where we're at and get games into the right guys. And Jack Williams, you could see by that contested mark, he's come a long way in terms of his development. And I think he's ready for more permanent roles in this team. And again, probably unlucky to ever get dropped. So bring in Jack Williams for Jack Darling, please. I'm also dropping Witherden. He's also out of contract. And also, what's he really adding? I'm sorry. We have 7 games to go in the season. If you are not signed up for next year, or at least in talks to sign up for next year, which I don't think Witherden or Jermaine Jones are, then why are you in the team? And I would get rid of them. And I would bring Tyrell Dewar in for Witherden and play him forward. And the other change I would make is I'd bring Liam Ryan back. So the reason is I'm trying not to throw out the mix of forwards and defenders there. So Marek for Chesser on the wing, Johnston for Jones as a half-back wing. That's where Johnston has been playing a little bit in the waffle. Dewar for Witherden is not like for like, which means we need to send someone back. And I think Liam Ryan could add probably a bit more to this team as a defender, midfielder, rather than a forward at the moment. We have other forward options. Hutchinson's in this team, and Brockman as well. I know Brockman didn't have a big game, but I think what the team needs right now, we could benefit more from, Dewar coming in, who's another option there, and getting Liam Ryan back and then dropping some of these other defenders. Then in my perfect world, I would drop Rotham. Again, another player out of contract, probably shouldn't be in our plans for next year, in my opinion. Harry Edwards, I think, with Jed Buslinger signing on with the Western Bulldogs, I think Harry Edwards is a required player at this stage, and I would give him another year for next year, and therefore I would bring in Harry Edwards for Rotham. Now, if McGovern's not fit, then Rotham survives, and McGovern goes out for a week off or however long. So those are the changes I would make. I hope you followed that, but I reckon that's 6 changes I would make there. Then from that team I selected, you could either make Chester the sub or get him back to the waffle. I think it'd be better for him to play in the waffle. Maybe Cully comes up as the sub or something like that. Cully at least has a chance of a contract next year versus someone like a Zane True, who I think they have ruled the line through. So I reckon it's time to swing the axe. It feels like there is a sense of inevitability about this Simpson getting sacked thing. At least to me, that's my perspective at the moment. It feels increasingly inevitable, but I think I might just be reading a lot of what people are saying. It doesn't necessarily reflect what's going to happen. Maybe it's just cognitive bias there that makes me think this is going to play out one way and we're going to have a new coach next year. On the other hand, though, what it really matters, what it boils down to, is whether that starts to seep into players' mindset. And I'm rehashing a little bit of what I've said in the last video, but if the players start to read into that and believe that, then I think that will eventually be what happens, because their performance and their mindset is going to be really important for the final 7 weeks as for saving Simpson's career. So that's all I got for you at the moment, guys. I'm exhausted. Thank you for those who tuned into the live stream. I did get up at 3:30 for this game, and I have a splitting headache. So let me know in the comments how you thought this game went. There seems to be a lot of dissatisfaction out there with how we played. No one should really be satisfied, no doubt. I do think it wasn't as bad as the Hawthorn one, but only marginally. So overall, I don't really have too many riveting points on this one. We got a tough game next week against the Brisbane Lions. Probably going to trend the same way, and then maybe a more winnable one against the Saints, although I think they're pretty close to beating Sydney right now, so we'll see. But thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.